But perhaps luck isn't about helping you avoid the hard things. Perhaps it's about remembering that goodness exists right alongside of it. Welcome to Intuition Unlocked. This podcast is for women who are craving a deeper return to who they are. Maybe you've lost your spark a little, or feel unsure of your next step, or find yourself searching outside of you for clarity. Well, this space is here to bring you back inward and ignite your heart and soul once more. I'm your host, Olivia Ashley, a mother and intuitive, and I'm so happy you're here. Hello and welcome in. Can I tell you something funny? Lately, I have become convinced that I am lucky. And it's not because my life is perfect or that difficult things aren't happening to me, but because somewhere along the way, I decided that I wanted to believe that my life was far more magical than I had been giving it credit for. And ever since I made that choice, life has been sending me the sweetest little reminders. Recently, when I went out and got a coffee, there was a horseshoe sticker on it, and ladybugs are greeting me each day. And last week, my daughter came home with a sticker that another child had given her, and she gave it to me, and it said, "Lucky Duck." And now maybe these things are coincidences, and maybe my brain is simply noticing things it would have previously ignored, or maybe life is a little more playful than we all realize. Because honestly, I don't feel the need to choose between those explanations. I think both can be true. Because whether it's science, spirit, or some beautiful combination of the two, I have noticed something. The more I expect goodness, the more goodness I seem to notice. The more I believe life is supporting me, the more supported I feel. And so today I want to explore why that might be. We're going to talk about what science says about luck, what spiritual traditions have long believed about luck and synchronicity, why the lucky girl era has captured so many of us, and how intuition and luck may be deeply connected, so you can more easily begin to invite more wonder, opportunity, and unexpected blessings into your own life. Because maybe luck isn't something you're born with. Maybe it's a relationship you cultivate. So I want to start with, what is luck really? And I think that's where we need to begin. Because when most people hear the word luck, they think of winning the lottery or stumbling upon extraordinary circumstances. But perhaps luck is much more ordinary and much more available than that. Maybe luck isn't always something that happens to you. Maybe it's the way that you move through your life, the way you pay attention, the way you respond to opportunities, and how you interpret what unfolds. Perhaps luck is being available for surprise, available for delight and possibility. And interestingly enough, psychologists have studied this. One of the most fascinating researchers I found on this topic is a psychologist named Richard Wiseman. For years, he studied people who describe themselves as exceptionally lucky and exceptionally unlucky. And what he discovered surprised him. He found that the lucky people weren't experiencing completely different lives. They weren't even exempt from hardship. What separated the lucky people from unlucky ones was how they approached their life. Wiseman, through his research, identified 4 major characteristics of lucky people. The first being, lucky people noticed opportunities that others missed. In one of his experiments, participants were handed a newspaper and asked to count the photographs inside. But hidden inside, halfway through the paper, was a message that said, "Stop counting. There are 43 photographs." And many of the self-described unlucky people missed this message entirely because they were so narrowly focused on the task. Meanwhile, the lucky people tended to notice it. So he found that the lucky ones were more relaxed, more observant, and open. The second thing he found was that lucky people trusted their intuition. They listen to their gut feelings and they pay attention to those nudges. The third thing was they expected good things to happen. And because they expected positive outcomes, they often behaved in ways that helped create them. And the fourth and final thing was lucky people had an incredible ability to reframe setbacks. They did not assume a bad experience meant their whole life was doomed. Instead, they tended to ask, how might this be helping me? Or what opportunity could emerge from this? So, in other words, he found that luck wasn't simply happening to these people, they were participating in it. And that's what I find incredibly hopeful. Because if luck were just purely random, there would not be much we could do. And just we'd have some really lucky people and some really unlucky people. But if part of luck is a mindset and a way of relating to life, then perhaps it's something that we can all cultivate. And that sparks my curiosity into, well, how? How can I continue to do so? And so before I talk more about how to start to feel more lucky, I want to talk about why we accidentally train ourselves to feel unlucky, because this is really important to understand if we're going to shift the narrative. If we know that luck can be cultivated, then we know it can also be unconsciously blocked. And it's not because you're doing anything wrong, but it's because your mind and nervous system are trying to protect you. So if you've ever experienced disappointment, betrayal, grief, or repeated setbacks, it makes sense that your brain might begin preparing for more of the same. So in this space, you start expecting things not to work out. You become hypervigilant around everything. You anticipate rejection, and you start to notice all the things that go wrong. And it's not because you're just simply negative. It's because you're human. And over time, we are wired to have those expectations become familiar and consistent. And that familiarity starts to feel safer than hope, even when it hurts. And that's because your reticular activating system, the part of your brain responsible for filtering information, is constantly gathering evidence for what you already believe. If your internal story is, nothing ever works out, well, guess what you're going to notice? You're going to notice the disappointments and the inconveniences and the closed doors all around you. Meanwhile, blessings, opportunities, and moments of grace quietly pass by unnoticed. And it's not because they aren't there or you're unlucky. It's because your attention wasn't trained to recognize them. And so I think that's why many of us have unknowingly become devoted to expecting disappointment, to feeling negative and stuck and continuing the cycle. And that has happened to most of us. We struggle to be in that space, which is why I believe something interesting happened culturally recently when this lucky girl era took off. I don't think the lucky girl became popular because women suddenly wanted Ferraris and designer handbags and all the money. I think that was maybe a small part of it, but I think it was more that we are exhausted. We are exhausted from constantly fixing ourselves. We are exhausted from the hustle culture. We are exhausted from the constant self-improvement and from believing life has to be hard all the time. And so when this playful idea appeared that good things always happen to me, that everything works out in my favor, it relaxed something inside of us. Because beneath this trend was this deeper longing, a longing to trust life again, to stop assuming disappointment, to believe that perhaps the universe isn't against us, and even more importantly, that we have a hand in changing it, in changing our situation and what our life looks like. And for that, I can give it such reverence. There's such beauty in that understanding. Yet I also realize that lasting change comes from something deeper than just repeating affirmations like I am lucky. It comes from building a new relationship with your life. And this is where science and spirit become really interesting to me around this topic. Because yes, the brain plays a role in feeling lucky or unlucky. Absolutely. But also, while I can understand that, I personally don't need science to explain everything. I love knowing that the reticular activating system exists and how it works. Yet I also love believing that life occasionally winks at us, that synchronicities are real and signs are meaningful, that maybe God, spirit, or the universe has a sense of humor and wants to help us. And so we can start to look at history and culture where humans have always carried symbols of luck. There's the horseshoe and the four-leaf clover. There are ladybugs and rainbows and shooting stars, dragonflies and elephants, and even the number 7, which across cultures has long been associated with blessings and completions and divine favor. All of these things and symbols are associated with luck and the divine. And what really fascinates me isn't whether these objects are objectively lucky. It's that humans have always wanted reminders that life contains goodness, that hope is worthwhile, and that magic hasn't disappeared. So maybe these symbols aren't just about superstition. Maybe they're invitations to remember wonder in our life and enjoy it more. And that's where I think intuition comes into play. Because intuition and luck are deeply connected. Richard Wiseman found that to be the case, and I know that from my own experiences to be the case, and I'm sure you do too in different ways. Because have you ever had a strange feeling or a nudge to take a different route, or to read a book, or reach out to someone, to say yes to something unexpected, or even no? And those decisions, while not always the case, sometimes lead to something beautiful that you never could have planned. And that's where I think intuition often places you in the path of serendipity. Not because it guarantees any outcomes or that that's going to be the case, but because it helps you participate with your life. What we're finding is luck is not random. It can feel a little bit random, but sometimes luck comes from saying yes to the nudge, from listening to that voice and taking action on it. Because I've learned that often these tiny nudges and that voice inside wants to help lead you to things that are beautiful, that you could never have orchestrated on your own, and you simply just don't know what the outcome would have been if you hadn't listened. That's what's so fun about intuition. It never predicts the future, but it does help you participate and co-create with life. And perhaps that's what being lucky really is. It's choosing to participate in your life, to dance with it, and be surprised by its miracles of all sizes and expect them. Which brings me to something I've personally noticed that can help you feel and be more lucky. I have found that luck seems to love movement. And what I mean by movement here is an openness to take actions, to mix up routines, to get out into the world in new ways, in different ways. Because when you live the exact same day in the exact same way with the exact same thoughts and routines, life becomes predictable. There is very little room for luck to crack open the door. But when you shake things up, even slightly, something interesting happens. You create intersections, new intersections where I find that surprise, where synchronicity, where opportunity and co-creation lives. So things that can help you do this are doing the exact opposite of what you typically do, like taking a different route home, or going to a completely new coffee shop, or saying yes to an invitation, or yes to that bucket list item that you've been putting off for so long, but you think about all the time. I think luck gives you the invitation to get outside of your comfort zone, to play in this life in a way that actually feels more good and supportive and adventurous and explorative and fun versus the consistency that we end up living because of how our society and culture is set up. Now, I know we still have to be in those spaces and follow those things, but I absolutely guarantee you have a few minutes to mix it up each day. And when you do that, when you can mix up your rhythms, you will often find that luck finds you. Even though you might feel like you're seeking it, often it's seeking you in a very different way than you expect. And so it's something that you just need to make yourself available for and hold the expectations that you are lucky, that good things do happen to you, but let the rest be. Surrender to what is and just enjoy the experience no matter how it comes. Because one person's luck could be another person's unluckiness. So everyone's going to have a different experience with this. And I think it's really about kind of staying neutral and not even really labeling, is this lucky, is this not? But just understanding this may be luck, this may be unlucky. Let's see how this plays out, and not attaching yourself so deeply to either side of it. And there are also some simple rituals you can do to have more fun and call luck in. The first one I'd offer is to choose a symbol that feels meaningful to you to represent luck. So for me, it's ladybug. Ladybug both represents babies, but also luck for me. And I feel like I'm done having babies, at least for now. So ladybugs are pure luck when I see them, and they lift my spirits. It could be any type of symbol, whether it's a number, an animal, a musical note, a word. Get creative here. And once you've chosen your symbol, drop in and set an intention around it. It could be something like, show me the symbol when I need encouragement and a reminder that I am lucky. And I don't want your happiness to depend on seeing this symbol, but it's more setting the symbol and the intention to create a playful relationship with life. So have fun with this and then notice when and where it's appearing to you. Another practice I've been loving lately is keeping a lucky list. So at the end of my day, I sit and write down one surprise, one kindness, one synchronicity, and one thing that worked out. It's kind of like a gratitude list with a twist. And over time, you can begin noticing just how much goodness was already present in your life. Just the little signs and symbols or the nudges or the surprises and beauty that showed up in your day-to-day. Because I am someone who often wants to think about and ruminate all the things that did not go right. And by doing this practice, it's helping me shift back into a state where anything is possible. There is magic all around me. I am doing a beautiful job. Look at how life is showing up to support me. And the last ritual I can offer you are affirmations, because I do find that there is power in an intentional affirmation. But maybe this affirmation isn't, I attract millions of dollars. Maybe you start with, I expect beautiful surprises, or I am available for unexpected blessings, or life delights in delighting me. How beautiful are those and how good do those feel? So friend, in closing, I want you to remember that I don't think lucky means that you're going to avoid grief or that seasons won't stretch or challenge you or you won't have uncertainty in life. Life will still be life no matter what. But perhaps luck isn't about helping you avoid the hard things. Perhaps it's about remembering that goodness exists right alongside of it. That beauty does exist and kindness exists and joy exists. Unexpected blessings exist, and you are incredibly powerful to create a life of your own. And if you're feeling really stuck and stagnant and negative and in this loop, then start to focus on luck, on how you can cultivate it, on how you can feel it more, on how you can see more beauty in your life. I find that maybe the luckiest thing of all isn't finding a four-leaf clover. Maybe it's living in such a way that you remain open to being surprised and to wonder and to delight, just being open to life. Because personally, I think there's something deeply healing about choosing to believe that this world is still filled with magic. And maybe, just maybe, you've been luckier all along than you've realized. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you stay well, stay lucky, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for being here today. I am truly grateful you chose to spend this time with me and be a part of this community. If this episode resonated, I'd love for you to leave a rating and written review because it helps Intuition Unlocked reach more women who are ready to live clearer, bolder, and more self-led. As a thank you, screenshot your review and email it to me, and I'll send you a resource to support your next step. And until next time, root into your truth, rise into your power, and radiate your light.